Our next talk is by Dr. Khalid, and he's gonna speak about stations of EUS.
इस खजाने पे मुझे पता है इस खजाने पे आपकी नजर मुझे पता है दोनों दफा यही किया आपने मेरे साथ जब भी चाय का टाइम आता तो आप मुझे टाट पे भेज देते हैं हाँ ये बिल्कुल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है डिस्क्रिमिनेशन So this is mainly about the stations of EUS, and there would be some repetition of what Mustafa said, but I think mostly it is different than what you just saw in his presentation. Other thing is there are some videos. These are the a little older videos from EUS book of my colleague Dr. Haas. And those have already volume on that. Somebody's speaking and explaining. So I'll just put those on, and I can drink my tea during that time. So here, other thing is a couple of things before I move to the stations itself. It's one thing is resolution is really of EUS is 1 millimeter or so. It's really high resolution. Other thing is he was talking about here. Mustafa explained all that gain and everything, but keep in mind the best penetration of EUS's waves is really up to 4 centimeter, and it is fades away up to after like completely fades away almost after 6 centimeter. So image you are getting is the penetration is up to 6 centimeter, but the best one is up to 4 centimeters. So just keep that in mind. It's not like you're going to be able to see the other part of the body through that. Okay. So we call it a station-based approach. I don't know who made those stations really. I think they are upside down. The station should be like you start from the top and go to the bottom, but they decided to start from the bottom and go up. They started station 1, 2, and 3. You will see the pictures and images like station 1, 2, 3 all are in Duodenum, and then station 4 and then 5 and 6 are in mediastinum. But remember that when in the beginning especially, and every time when I do a EUS, I try to, I should say even now in 90% of the time, I do a complete EUS. I have this sequence in my head that I have to go through this. If it is a problem like a patient problematic in regards to the medical condition, patient is unstable or patient is have too many comorbidities, then what I do is I go to the target first right away, evaluate that, and then if time permits, patient condition permits, then do the rest of the complete UX examination. But if it's a reasonable patient and you can spend time, then I go through the steps. And I make my fellows every time to start from one point and completely finish it. So you should have your own station. We'll go through the book stations right now, but you can have your own stations, and I'll demonstrate how my stations work for me, how I start, where I go, and I go from top downwards, and then on the way back, I do everything in one pull, all the stations. So when you're doing a US, trust me, you're going to be lost for many years. So you will be lost. you will find aorta, you will find liver. So that when I started, the only structure I could see that or recognize was the liver right away. So that's it. And all of us are gonna get, so, but you do get excited about that. At least I know what that is.
Just a point on that. When I was a fellow, my attending said, "Can I look at the liver?" And I looked at it for about 2 minutes. I said, "The best detail exam of the liver." And he said, "The spleen looks good, now show me the liver." So as a fellow, I couldn't even differentiate between spleen and liver.
Yeah. So one of the like in the beginning, like it was my 5th or 6th EUS, I was doing it, and my attending asked me, "What is that?" I was like, that looks like a gallbladder." He's like, "If you can see the gallbladder from mediastinum, you must be really good." So, we all have stories. Okay. And then he didn't give me the scope after that. Here, so if you think like this is a structure, like you may have made up in your head, don't make up stuff in your head that you are right, the body is wrong, which is right in front of you, or God is wrong, okay? So make the anatomy fit the station, don't guess, okay? And if you are lost, you are gonna be lost for many years again and again, okay? Spend some time, try to see if you can get your way around that. Like, but don't spend too much time. 1 minute, 2 minutes, you don't know what is happening. Always go back to the GE junction, or if you are in a duodenal bulb, go to the portal vein, or a familiar station, so where you can start over. So with the hospital I work in, it's a 1,500 bed hospital. In America, 1,500 bed is a humongous hospital. Like it's one of the biggest, it's one top 10. So the especially the old section of the hospital was like so many corridors. And when I started, I would go in one corridor and I have no idea where I am. So I have to go back all the way where I know the center is. So same approach here. Go back to the familiar place and then start over from there. And other thing is, we talked about it's a dynamic procedure. It's not like you just sitting there, and fellows, like it becomes very frustrating for the teacher sometimes too. Fellow finds something, the trainee, they're so excited they don't want to move from there. Like it's looking really so nice, and they're like, are you gonna do something, or you just sit there? Because it's not a ERCP scope. It's not a cannulation where you are gonna be sitting there. So you move. It's a dynamic procedure. You move your wrists, you move your shoulders, and I'll demonstrate that too. But scope, as Mustafa mentioned, scope has to be really, really straight scope. And a person like Dr. Gyas or Dr. Saad or Dr. Wakar, which are tall, they can lift the scope and scope will still be straight. But if you are short like me, move away from the patient, and I'll show you that. That would keep the scope straight. And use your wrist, use your shoulders, because the transducer has to be moving, okay? And other thing is when you hold the scope, I don't know if any, even Mustafa, did you ever pay attention to the scope itself? Like the scope handle, one is the scope shaft, and the handle of the scope is always opposite to the transducer. Transducer, if you put the scope straight on the bed, your scope is sitting there. This is the hook, the limb which hooks to the machine, and you put that scope on there. The wheels are going to be at 90 degrees from that, and the transducer itself is going to be on the completely opposite side. So just to get an idea, like if I'm holding a scope in here, the scope is in the patient, you can get an idea which way the transducer is. So that gives you some idea about like, okay, which way you are looking inside the body. Okay. So radial, we're not going to talk about that. We'll just mainly talk about the linear. This is actually, this is I got trained at EUS at Mayo Clinic, and these are the first thing they gave me when I got there to the EUS. Like, keep looking at these images. And these are very, very short few second videos, and just give you an idea when the scope is moving, what it is looking at. So you are at the GE junction. You see those ultrasonic rays, and when you go into the stomach, and you're looking at the pancreatic body and tail area. So this is how you are looking, your movements. So that gives you some idea about that, what you are looking at. So this was into the stomach. Next one, going into the duodenal bulb, and take a look like what your orientation is, what your direction is, and which way you're moving, and so what structure you should be living. It keeps changing. The bile duct, when you're looking at that from the stomach, is going to be totally different, okay? When you're looking from the duodenal bulb, it's going to be totally different. When you're looking, again, I'll show that too. When you're looking from the stomach itself, you just remember, imagine that you are looking down, okay, on that pancreas. And you're looking down, the pancreas, beyond that is the portal vein, and then is going to be bile duct. So when you look at the bile duct from the stomach, it's always going to be on the other side of the portal vein. So here, when you're looking from here, that's how that image is going to be. So when you go into the duodenal bulb, you are resting on the greater curvature of the stomach, and you're looking from other way. So now, earlier you were looking down, and now you're looking up, so everything flips. Because you're going to be very confused about that, these things, structures, when you look at that, like from one angle they are on this side, from the other angle it's on this side. Okay, now the pancreatic tail, when I look from here, I'm looking on this side. When I have to look at that from the duodenal bulb, it's on this side. That's the easiest way how I remember that. Okay, when I'm looking at from the pancreas, from the stomach, I'm looking down. When I'm looking from the duodenal bulb, I'm looking up. So that made sense to me, and so I made that image in my head. So every time, that's how I use it.
Just repeat that. Just repeat your last.
So when you're looking at the pancreas,
Yes, sir.
from here, I'm going to go back a little bit.
You can repeat those videos so that would have
So this is, you're looking at the pancreatic body.
Yeah.
So if you're looking from the top kind of down, that's what I would imagine. So here, this is a portal vein is going to come first. The bile duct is going to give you away from that.
Yeah.
So you see a pancreatic body, you see a portal vein, and the bile duct is deep in there. So imagine that you're looking from top down on these structures. When you go to the duodenal bulb, you have to rest at the greater curvature, and it flips. So everything flips, like you're looking now upward. So you are down now, and you're looking from the structures upward. So that's why the portal vein flips. Bile duct comes first, and the portal vein second. I'll demonstrate that in a live case. I'll show you what I mean by that.
Yeah, I think most of the time this orientation is,
Yes.
as Khalid has said, but
Yeah.
I think the best way I found was if you imagine, because if you imagine the patient is lying on his side,
Right. Okay.
right, on his side.
Yeah, that's
So if you have a head on this side, there is. So yeah, if you have this, so imagine the scope is going like this. So if it is facing posteriorly, so what will you have? You will have aorta, right? Okay. So if you start rotating it, what will happen? So just imagine the position of the patient,
right.
and the scope is facing posteriorly. So what will happen? Okay. So now when you actually rotate, you will be actually looking at the spleen and all the things if you face clockwise. If you face anti-clockwise, you will face. So what helps is that if you imagine that the patient is lying like this and your scope is like this, what will it see?
Right.
Okay, so now if you imagine that, and if you go into the stomach and you also imagine that you're looking at the patient is like this, so the right lobe is above, the portal vein is going like this. So you're looking it from below, but then you flip it. Because you always, EUS will show you image from the transducer is always up. You're looking from down, but then if you're looking at it like this, the portal will be here, bite duct will be here, but now you flip it because the image is flipped like this. So if you do that, these two things, then it helps because each time you look at how the patient is lying, where I'm imaging, and then you flip it.
So this is the next one, which is from the second part of the duodenum. So.
Alan, do you follow the three stations in the duodenum? If you think that the second and three, two and three, don't they just come along with the examination?
Yeah, those stations are just, I think when they develop, whoever named them, I think, I know. Okay. Yeah, teaching. No, actually what he's talking about is, I have it, let me show you. Yeah, so let me.
Talking about the second and third.
Yeah,
Stations.
first or second mostly.
First,
I
and
guess.
second is what I'm talking about.
So do you, I'll just go ahead and, even though the radial, we might not be using it, but this is how the radial is going to look like too.
And I also raised that point because when you're learning, obviously you're picking up those as the main thing, and then you go on to the ampulla and you're trying to figure out. And I think, if you take duodenum as two stations, it becomes much easier.
That's right.
Because you'll be able to see all that rather than trying to get into the ampulla and trying to.
And when you use a radial, again, even though we're not going to use that, when you look at the pancreatic body and you find the duct, like it's nicely, you see the duct, you are pretty much in the center of the pancreas. So the image is like a CT image. So you're looking only at the center of the pancreas. So you are not looking at the exterior pancreas or superior. So you have to move the scope back and forward to take a look at the whole pancreas. While the linear is totally different because that's kind of a cross-sectional image like that. So you can move right and left with that. With the radial one, you have to go in and out of to take a really look at the whole pancreas. So. So this is when you are looking at the uncinate process, you are looking at the ampulla. That's the image there. So here, those stations itself, station 1, 2, and 3 is for the pancreatic head and the uncinate process. Station 4 is for the pancreatic body and tail. Station 5 and 6 is the mediastinum. And this is an image of that. So I think what Dr. Saab was talking about this one, that like, what do we really need it, and do you really need to have a separate name for that separate station? So that's what he was talking about. So that's station 1 and 2. Here is the image of station 1. You mainly see a aorta. So when you are in that position for station 1 and 2, so just remember there are 5 structures you should try to look at. Those 5 structures are always going to be in the same order. God made everybody, pretty much every human being, same. So the order is going to be those 5 structures. Aorta, try to find that first. That is always in the center. There are 2 things which you are going to look on the right of aorta, 2 things on the left of the aorta. On the left of the aorta is going to be, next one is going to be IVC and then right hidden. Okay. On the right side, I'm talking about the screen, okay, the EUS image screen. So on the right is going to be bile duct and then pancreatic duct. So that's the order. Just we will keep demonstrating during the live as well when we do that. So aorta, you go to the left, IVC, right kidney. From aorta, you go to the right, bile duct, pancreatic duct. Always is going to be the same sequence. So when you find the aorta, you sit there, You rotate the scope to the left, anti-clockwise, IVC, right kidney. You rotate it to the clockwise, bile duct, pancreatic duct. I can't stress that enough. This is always going to be when you can find those 5 structures. That's like that station is a piece of cake, and this is the most difficult station. Everybody talks about the pull-through station is the most difficult to learn. But when you keep those 5 structures in mind, if you can demonstrate those 5 structures, you're going to be just fine with that. Okay. So here, this one, this all.
So for teaching purposes, you suggest that in order to get to the station 1, do you think fluoroscopically for the trainees it would be better that to understand that they are in station 1, or so just use the landmark of papilla and then?
There are 2 ways to say go to the, like when you are going to. So one is you see endoscopically with the papilla, okay, and then you take the air out obviously, and you put the big wheel towards you. That's how I say it. Big wheel towards you or away from you. Instead of hip up or down. So sometimes it's confusing. Hip up is this, or hip up is this. Yeah. So I said big wheel towards you or away from you. That's how I say. And the same thing is with the small wheel towards you, away from you. That's easier for them for the cows usually to interpret. So when you do the big wheel towards you, you're trying to take a look at the ampulla. You're never at the ankle by EUS. Endoscopically, you may feel like that you are there, but you're always 1 centimeter distant. That's the station 1. Okay. So that from there we come to the station 2, and then station 3 is actually a little bit of bulb area. So that's one way, endoscopic. Second is you go to the descending duodenum. You don't look at anything. Okay. You just suction the air out, and then move your scope right and left. This is the area where you move your scope quite a bit until you find the aorta, and then you find out those 5 structures. So you can do under fluoro. Give you a little bit idea in the beginning, like what are you doing with the scope base, what is the position of the scope. So it's a part of learning whatever helps you to learn that, especially in the beginning. So that's it. I think these are the videos which have already, I hope the volume comes in. Where is Sharia? Is the volume? दोबारा करो
imaging field.
that was
Now, one needs to slowly withdraw the echo endoscope. And
okay.
in this video sequence, you can see the advancement of the scope into the duodenum. With initial imaging, one can see the aorta clearly across the imaging field. Now, one needs to slowly withdraw the echo endoscope. And with withdrawal, one needs to apply clockwise and counterclockwise torquing in order to image the pancreatic uncinate. As one withdraws, the aorta is typically out of the visual field. It may dive deep into the pancreatic head. On this video, one can see that as we have withdrawn, we have come up squarely on the pancreatic uncinate, and we can now visualize the pancreatic duct. Torquing left and right brings the aorta back into view, and at the same time, we can see the pancreatic duct and the uncinate of the pancreas.
So it's a pancreatic duct, then to the left bile duct, then aorta, then IVC, and then right kidney.
Again, we cannot overemphasize the clockwise and counterclockwise torquing that is necessary to fully interrogate the pancreatic uncinate. One can clearly see the pancreatic duct, which typically comes from deep within the pancreas, whereas the bile duct is seen closer to the duodenum. Color Doppler can be applied to differentiate vascular from non-vascular structures. With further torquing, one can see the bile duct as well.
So next is station 2, which is really you're taking a look at the papilla itself, and the same thing is here, the same type of video. We lost the volume again.
Duct clearly in view.
I'll start over.
In this video, we have advanced the echo endoscope into the second portion of the duodenum, but as one can see, we are a little bit below the papilla when we first began. With pullback, one can clearly see a crescent-shaped head of the pancreas, with the pancreatic duct clearly in view. Clockwise and counterclockwise torque is applied to fully interrogate this area. If one needs to specifically see the ampulla, one can administer glucagon and instill water into the duodenum.
They keep on saying, you know, when I look at the pancreas on the video, they say it's crescent shape, but it's not really. How do you?
I think what she meant by that is like
Yeah,
this.
it's quite a big crescent there.
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
It's like Bharat,
What are the different
Okay. Yes. Okay.
झंडे वाला नहीं.
So yeah, the crescent is only at the bottom. Okay. आपने तो नाराज़ी कर दिया उसको.
Pancreatic duct clearly in view. Clockwise and counterclockwise torque is applied to fully interrogate this area. If one needs to specifically see the ampulla, one can administer glucagon and instill water into the duodenum in order to more fully interrogate the ampullary area.
So what that is just to mainly to
Here,
paralyze
with
the
further
clot.
forward and backward movement, as well as torque, the pancreatic head can be interrogated from the ampulla of Vater. Here, you can see we have slipped back, probably into the duodenal bowl, and if we have done an insufficient examination of the head of the pancreas, we should go back to the ampulla and re-examine this area.
So that is going to happen. So, you will fall back and didn't see you're not satisfied with the examination. That happens. You always go back to the station. Sometimes you have to do 2-3 times, especially when you're coming back from the descending duodenum and coming back, and sometimes it just falls back.
I'll just add, for those of you who are using the Pentax scope here, you have to be very, very careful with this one. You can actually perforate it.
Yeah. So
Because it's got a very bending section, so when you're maneuvering the scope into the duodenum, you have to be very careful and unlock it before you start pulling it, because with the Pentax scope, it's a big problem. It's got a sharp edge as well as. So those of you using this will have a difficulty getting into the beach. Right? So that's
As a beginner, we started to find out the structure into the stomach. Because we have a difficulty in Pentax in going into the duodenum. Even if it's going
Pentax is a big bending section,
Yes.
so you have to be careful. So when you go into the duodenum, so what you need to do is keep the lumen all the time in view, and once you go into the D1, D2, and raise the scope and and then rotate it without locking it, and never rotate the scope until you are in the don't do the right left until you are in the duodenum.
And other major thing that is you cannot stress enough that with the ERCP scope,
yeah.
we are always used to locking the
Yeah.
wheel.
Don't look.
With the EUS scope, don't, especially when you are moving back. Doesn't matter what type of
Always
scope,
unlock.
Olympus or NX, whatever that is, always keep the wheels unlocked. Let the scope take the shape. Because if it's locked, it's not going to take the shape properly. It's going to hang up on the duodenal wall, and that's where we are. So I'm going to try to finish. I think it would be better just to demonstrate during the cases. Yeah. So here, this is this is a video, complete examination of the pancreas. I made this video. So this is how I start. I go into the stomach below the G junction, find the left lobe of the liver, and then from there rotate to the right, find the aorta. You can see the celiac artery. Celiac artery, follow that. Obviously, it divides in 3 branches. That takes you straight to the pancreas right here. You see the pancreatic duct right into the center. Pancreatic duct is when you have to follow that towards the tail, you're rotating the scope to the right, pulling the scope back a little bit. And this is the left kidney right here. So to see the tail of the pancreas completely, you have to see the spleen and the left kidney, because the tail is pretty much tucked in between the spleen and the left kidney. From there, now you rotate it anti-clockwise. You see the portal confluence is coming here, and bile duct should be at deeper to that. So that's what I meant earlier when I was saying you're looking from the top downward. So now you're going into the duodenal bulb, and here in the duodenum you see the bile duct right there. To follow the bile duct towards the liver hilum, you rotate anti-clockwise until you get to the hilar area. To see the papilla, you rotate it clockwise, and you see the bile duct and pancreatic duct right here. So that's the ampulla itself. Now going back to the second part of the duodenum. So those 5 structures I was mentioning, this that was aorta, bile duct, then pancreatic duct. From here, you can pretty much do the whole pancreatic exam in one pull through. So you unlock all the wheels. You see the pancreatic duct was coming up. It's coming up here. Now I'm about to fall back into the stomach, which I just did. We still did not lose the pancreas. We still have all the pancreas until we get back to the kidney and the spleen. And this is the mediastinum, and this is the left atrium right there, ventricle here, aortic valve right there, pulmonary artery on the top. This is aorta, descending aorta. That's, and then again aorta and pulmonary artery. What we call a AP window, which I think Mustafa cleared earlier, is really here, not here. That would be the area 4. So that's what we usually call that AP window. So you really, when you get after so many examinations, you can do the whole pancreatic exam in 3 to 5 minutes without any problem. Yes.
Sir, when you talk about the clockwise and anti-clockwise motion, the movement should be on the shoulders, right, and from the hands.
Yes.
From this.
You can use both. So it depends like what position you are in. Sometimes you have to use shoulders. Other times you have to use wrist. Like you go extreme anti-clockwise, especially from the duodenal bulb. When I have to take a look at the right lobe of the liver, segment 5, I have to use my wrist. Shoulders won't work there. So it really depends. Keep in mind that you have to keep your body comfortable, patient has to be comfortable, and scope has to be comfortable. So there should not be torquing on anybody there. So the gentle movement and body movement, shoulder movement, wrist movement, keeping in mind that don't stress any of those 3 subjects, the patient, scope, and yourself. You have to do this all your life. So you can't be bending backwards and putting a strain on your back. I think they're ready for the cases, so I'll do that now. इसको निकाल दो, ये